Moved across into financial advice, I think it was about 1998. I was in the banking system, so I went through all the lending, decided banking wasn't for me. It was too much of a bit of a sales job at that point in time. So wanted the career of financial advice. It was good. It was, you always make sure that you can actually provide a good outcome for clients. So that's where I did a bit of study, moved into financial advice in 98, and has been there ever since. So enjoying it.
Like probably most financial advisors, I sort of fell into it. It certainly wasn't a career path that I thought that I would be on. Went, finished school, went away to uni, came back. Wasn't ready for a real job at that point in time, and did lots of different stuff from hospitality to media sales, all that sort of stuff. And then one of the clients I was working with was establishing a financial advice offering and wanted me to be part of that. So went into that, and then completed a Bachelor of Financial Planning on top of that, and just kept progressing. And that was sort of 13 years ago or something now. So yeah. I think probably just building those deeper understanding and deeper relationships with clients, and even long-term clients that you've had for 10 years or longer in James's case, but you still don't actually really know the intimate detail on their life story and what's important to them, and that's where Lumiant has come into its own.
Yeah, and I think with traditional advice, when we're talking about goals, it was like I always talk about peeling the onion. We might get through one layer or maybe two layers. It was all about 4 or 5 goals, and that was always, when do you going to retire? How much do you need? What are some of your expenses that you've got? So the next step was then goals-based advice, where you then peel that extra couple of layers through, get a deeper understanding with clients. But probably the one thing that we found, especially once we went to the boot camp in the US to visit United Capital, it's really getting down to those lower layers there, that 5 and 6 layers down, which is just really understanding clients' values and what's really important to them. And you just can't do that, even with goals-based advice. I think the way that Lumiant's structured and set up, to be able to provide the cards opportunity or the gamification with clients, it actually opens up a conversation that you just generally can't get to with clients.
So obviously that the values bit was a big piece of it, but I think as Lumiant develops and the communication direct between the client and the advisor office, all through Lumiant, sending notifications, constant communication, easily identifying what the client's done the last 12 months, what we've done, or the advisor's done the last 12 months, what that has resulted in, things that they've achieved, being able to tick things off along the way, certainly helps from a value point of view from that advisor. And that's probably something that advisors have struggled to do traditionally, is to, articulate their value. But I think that the Lumiant software certainly helps.
Yeah, and it still comes back to this value conversation. Having a structure or the technology, be able to have those open conversations with clients about their values is, again, it's very difficult, and there's no technology in Australia that can do it.
And previously, like we'd have good conversations with clients, and that we'd use a tool called the Your World document, and we'd have a great conversation with them, and then it'd get stuck in their file and would never be seen ever again. Whereas with the Lumiant, it's constantly, it will be constantly being touched on. Values, goals, what are we doing? What are they doing? Trade-offs, tasks, everything like that, to keep everything really front of mind, rather than just having a great conversation and then never being seen or heard of ever again.
Yeah, and the one thing that we want to be able to do is, again, give clients a fantastic client experience as part of the advice we're actually providing. So we're always trying to do the best that we can for our clients. And the one thing that we need to be able to do is also look at what technology is around, not only in Australia, but also in the world. And there was nothing there that we could see could be able to do this. So again, having the opportunity to try to bring what the US were doing over there with United Capital, but didn't quite work. But now having the opportunity to be able to build it, but not only for what they actually previously did, but enhance it. I think probably 2 or 3 times more than what they were actually doing over there. So it works really well, I think, with what we need here in Australia for sure.
After we'd been to Dallas, you've sort of, once you see something, you can't unsee it. And obviously we wanted to make that work with United Capital, then Goldman Sachs came along and blew it all up. And then I guess as part of that foundation group, we had a decision to make. Do we turn a blind eye and just keep doing what we've done, which isn't solving the real issues for clients, or do we go and build this thing and change the industry for the better? So that's what it was about for us, is because it's great for us as an advice business, obviously, but we want to bring the entire industry along. We've got education requirements changing, exams, ethics courses, all this sort of stuff to raise the quality of advisors. But without Lumiant, that's the missing piece. If we can get as many advisors in Australia using that, then clients, consumers, the trust in advice is going to skyrocket. Outcomes for clients are going to be much better, and they're going to understand what they're paying for and what actually they're getting delivered. So that's a big one for us.
Yeah, and probably just on top of that is the client value proposition. It's the client value proposition for a lot of advice businesses, what they're doing on the investment side. They're still doing the strategy, but it still comes back to why is the client seeing them, and it comes back to investment. A lot of those businesses, if they continue with that client value proposition, may not be around in another 5 to 10 years' time, because we're starting to see Vanguard and a few other guys globally come into Australia. So if their client value proposition is based on investment, they're really going to be able to struggle. So that's the one thing that we need to be able to do is advice businesses need to go to goals-based, or what we've found is values-based advice is the best advice you can give.
The first one is we've got a team of sort of 12 in the office, so making sure that we're taking the entire team along on the journey and giving them an understanding on why Lumiant is the solution for our business and for the industry as a whole. Clients, it's a completely different client experience, particularly our ongoing existing clients. When we get them into the office and start having these discussions with them that we haven't had previously. So you've got some pretty tough graziers and farmers and miners up this way that potentially certainly haven't had those discussions with their partners, a lot of them, and haven't really thought about it even themselves as individuals. So whether they recoil and push back on us and that sort of thing. So they were two big ones for us, and it's another piece of software at the moment which our staff have to get used to using, get their heads around. It's not the perfect piece of software at the moment. We're still using Astute Wheel, and they're still double up and efficiencies that just aren't there at the moment. So there's potential pushback on that as well.
Yeah, and I think from a client perspective as well, is do other clients want to actually talk about values and what's really important to them? They're all individuals, they're all different. Probably the difference for us is actually how far we can actually push those clients to be able to get an understanding with what their values are, and especially peeling that onion, how far do you actually go before they really push back? So that definitely, we find that pretty hard for the 5 financial advisors in our business to be able to make sure that we can balance that conversation, that we can actually get some good quality, because not only is it good understanding for us to be able to understand our clients better, but it's also from the clients to be able to work out, okay, how can we actually help them by having this conversation about values, on what we can actually do for them to be able to provide better advice for them going forward as well. From a benefits point of view, is just a better relationship with our clients. And again, still, like I said, it comes 2 ways. First of all, for us to be able to understand clients, and the one thing we do open up is how were you brought up as a child, because that's what you do, is you learn your values from your parents and the way you were actually brought up. And for a lot of people, especially the older generation, they want to be able to make sure that they're passing those values on to not only their kids, but also their grandkids as well. So we're understanding what they went through, which helps us provide better advice. Because the one thing we keep on coming back to them is we want to make sure our clients live their best financial life. And what that means is making sure that they don't die with a bucket full of money under their bed. So we're, again, this different client value proposition that we have compared to most advice businesses, where they have percentage fees based on the funds under management. So is that the right advice, where if clients want to spend more money, that the advisor's disadvantaged because they get paid less money? So I think that's a real issue in our industry. So that's why we charge flat fees. But we also want to make sure that clients actually run their capital down. That's what they want to do. They can do it two ways. They can do it for themselves, but they can also pass off to their kids, so they can actually see them flourish when they actually need money, rather than when they pass away and then they can inherit that money there. So it's a good balance, but they're really good conversations that we have. And again, peeling the onion down when we're talking about legacy and what that actually looks like, and actually providing good quality advice to clients, that it's life-changing discussions that we're having, that previously we probably wouldn't have had those discussions before.
Yeah, I was going to say that I haven't had one Lumiant conversation where I haven't learned one thing that has blown me away about my clients that I didn't know previously. Like, some of the stuff that I found out, like, is it's crazy. You just I would never ever have found that out unless I was doing the Lumiant process.
I can start with that one, because I've got a pretty good understanding with, I think, the way it's going, especially when it comes back to government legislation, is that I'm working together with government, with ASIC and the Financial Planning Association as well, to be able to move into a better direction for clients. So number one, it comes back to its affordability advice, which is really critical in our industry, making sure that we can try to make affordable advice to everyone. So to be able to do that, that means some of the regulation, it's not going to be watered down, but I think there's going to be some more guidance to what we can actually do about clients rather than compliance. Let's focus on the client. So video technology is going to be huge. What we're doing with financial advice is the video advice, and actually providing clients with video. That's going to go another level. We're going to be recording conversations. So when clients come into our meetings, we'll be recording that, and that will then become your statement of advice. So we're not talking about these file notes and all the regulation that goes with it. We're actually doing it in our client meetings. So I think the digitally for meetings is going to really change things up. We're not going to be looking at an advice document that's even in Word. So I think that's where the future is going to be. There's this big grounding of values, because not only does financial advice need to be able to jump into the values and what's important, because there's going to be your business coaches, you're going to have your accountants, and you're going to have solicitors that are all going to be converging on that area as well. So if financial advisors don't get to it now, then they're going to find they're going to have a lot of other competitors there as well. Because when we're talking about values advice, we're talking about life planning. There's no product, so it's not licensed. So to be able to provide advice and having these good conversations, that's what we call quality advice, but you don't actually have to be licensed to be able to provide that support. So I think that's what we need to be able to do going for the future, is more about trying to be a lot more efficient. We're going to see scalability with the technology, because we've got the efficiency and the technology to be able to back that up, especially where the Strava side, where you can actually go back and see, okay, what have you achieved over the last 12 months financially? So when you've got that technology system that's doing that, from your financial security point of view, is going to be absolutely huge in our industry. So I think technology is going to be one huge thing that's going to lead. And I think just with the legislation, or the ability to be able to provide good advice to clients face to face, pardon me, but being able to do that on a digital and video sense is going to make it a lot more efficient for all advice businesses.
Agree with everything James said, and with the new education requirements coming in for advisors post 2020, start of 2026 or whatever it is, potentially individual license, individual advisors being having their own licensing arrangement rather than through that dealer group model. I don't know if taking fees through product is a long-term thing, and we're going to hopefully be paying clients direct through bank accounts, that sort of stuff. So the advisor of the future has to really know how to demonstrate value and to deliver value. Fees aren't going to be hidden in super accounts or investment accounts for the long term, I don't feel. So I think that Lumiant is one of the ways to get across that hurdle if you're worried about doing that with clients.
You've just heard from a really happy client of one of our Evolve Alliance provider members. If you'd like access to some great tools, services, ideas and resources to help you improve your advice business, go to evolvealliance.com.au and join the Alliance.